Welcome, Accelerator Evaluators, to this explainer. Today, we are breaking down a really massive bottleneck in the green energy transition. And more importantly, we're looking at exactly how a startup called SmartBESO is solving it. We're going to see how they take this incredibly complex, messy energy data and translate it into clear, boardroom-ready business decisions. Because, if you've ever wondered how industrial clients actually figure out if a giant battery system is worth the huge investment, well, you're about to find out just how complicated that process is right now, and how SmartBESO makes it almost effortless. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We have 5 key areas to cover. 1. The energy market pain. 2. The SmartBESO solution. 3. Target market and urgency. 4. The competitive edge. And 5. The team. Let's get started. So, Section 1, the energy market pain. We really need to start with the reality on the ground for industrial businesses today, because it is a massive, incredibly expensive headache. I want to pose this question directly to you, because this right here is the core friction in the entire energy market today. How do you actually know if an industrial battery is going to be profitable? I mean, it sounds like it should just be simple math, right? You buy a battery, you save some power, boom, it pays for itself. But in reality, for a factory owner who doesn't happen to have a PhD in energy markets, answering this question is basically a complete guessing game. And here's why it's so difficult. First off, electricity prices are swinging wildly every single hour. Sometimes, like right in the middle of the day, power is abundant and basically free. But by late afternoon, it skyrockets. And businesses just end up paying a really high average. Second, you've got these factories that want to expand their production lines, right? But the local grid literally cannot give them any more power. Expanding that grid connection is slow, it's expensive, or sometimes it's just plain impossible. And finally, proving that a battery will actually solve these two problems takes weeks of expensive, incredibly complex engineering consulting. And what you get at the end? A highly technical report that a CEO or CFO can barely even read. The real barrier to battery adoption isn't the hardware anymore. It's the sheer mind-numbing complexity of calculating the ROI. Moving on to Section 2, the SmartBESO solution. We know the pain is severe, so let's look at how SmartBESO steps in as the ultimate relief to these massive operational headaches. SmartBESO takes all that engineering madness and distills the value of a battery down into 3 super simple buckets for the end user. Number 1, save. The battery buys power when it's cheap, it uses it when it's expensive, and it shaves off those massive spikes in power usage that trigger really harsh grid penalties. Number 2, secure. The battery basically acts as a local power reserve. It gives the factory the extra juice it needs to grow without waiting years for the grid to upgrade their connection. And number 3, which is really cool, earn. This is the newest frontier. By participating in specific energy markets, the factory can actually get paid by the grid operator just for being flexible with their power usage. SmartBESO strips away all the jargon, so any business leader can instantly say, okay, I get it. So the crucial point here is how this software actually models all of this. Because a battery can do a lot of things, sure, but it can't do everything at the exact same time. If you use all your battery power to save on peak penalties, you obviously can't sell that same power back to the grid. SmartBESO uses AI to perfectly combine these revenue streams, what the industry calls revenue stacking. And this rigorous AI ensures it never, ever double counts the battery's capacity. It completely prevents those fatal math errors that instantly ruin other ROI calculations the second they get scrutinized in a boardroom. All right, Section 3, target market and urgency. Timing is literally everything for an accelerator evaluating a startup, so we're going to see why this is the absolutely perfect moment to scale this solution. So, who is actually using this? The primary beneficiaries, obviously, are the industrial clients themselves, the factories desperately needing cheaper energy to run their machines. But the strategic brilliance of SmartBESO is actually its secondary user base, solar installers and engineering firms. For them, SmartBESO is this incredibly powerful sales enablement tool. Instead of waiting weeks for an engineer to draft a proposal, an installer can just use this software to generate a compelling, dead-accurate business case in minutes. It empowers these installers to basically sell the solution for SmartBESO. Okay, 22.5. Just keep that number in the back of your mind for a second, because the scale of what this represents is exactly why this market is at a total tipping point right now. 22.5 gigawatts. That is what Spain alone is pushing for in installed batteries by 2030. That is a massive, massive deployment of hardware.
But more importantly, there's a new regulation, RD 88/2026, and it has completely changed the game. It basically allows independent operators to pool spare battery capacity from businesses and take it to the grid's balancing markets. So for the very first time, ordinary industrial batteries can get paid directly by the grid operator for helping keep the network stable. It's huge. The demand for clear, accurate ROI reports on these batteries is absolutely about to explode.
Which brings us to Section 4, the competitive edge. Of course, with a market this lucrative, there are incumbents. Let's look at how SmartBESO completely outmaneuvers them. If we look at the landscape, the alternatives just fall short for the actual end user. You have PowerFlow Analytics, great engine, but it's built for specialized engineers and banks. A factory owner literally can't read it. Then you have Inertis A++, which is a massive consultancy. They do great work, but it's totally bespoke, it's expensive, and it takes a really long time. And then software like Rated Power, phenomenal if you want to design the physical layout of a massive solar farm, but it doesn't calculate this specific multi-layered financial ROI for a factory. The incumbents are basically either way too technical, way too slow, or just focused on the wrong problem entirely. Now, what's really interesting here is the total paradigm shift this represents. The old way is a massive bottleneck. It relies on human hours and pumps out confusing technical jargon. But the SmartBESO way, it leverages AI to turn a highly complex technical calculation into a fast conversational sales tool. It literally takes the friction completely out of the buying process, delivering these crisp, boardroom-ready financial reports in minutes instead of weeks. And finally, Section 5, the team behind the success. Because you can have the best software in the world, but execution is what actually matters, right? Let's see why this group is perfectly positioned to capture this market. These guys are not just a couple of novices trying to figure out the energy market on the fly. Manuel Sanchez Garcia has a PhD in industrial engineering and brings over 30 years of deep specialization in renewables. Moses Labracabla brings another 30 years of executive leadership, running massive technical operations at giants like IBM, Circuitor, and Fronius. And Sergio Garcia is the technical powerhouse, a lead computer engineer specializing in AI and process digitization. It's an incredibly rare blend of deep academic technical knowledge and massive corporate scaling experience. I absolutely love this quote from Moises because it hits the nail right on the head regarding the team's core philosophy. He says, "My strength lies in translating highly technical solutions into scalable, commercially successful offerings." And honestly, that is exactly what SmartBESO is doing. They aren't just building neat tech in a vacuum. They are taking deeply complex engineering and turning it into pure commercial success. They know exactly how to build it. And more importantly, they know exactly how to sell it. So we've seen the massive pain in the industrial energy sector. We've seen the regulatory urgency that's driving this boom in battery adoption. And we've seen an AI-driven solution backed by a total powerhouse team of industry veterans. The bottleneck holding back industrial energy storage is no longer the hardware. It is clarity. And SmartBESO provides that clarity in minutes. So the final question for you as evaluators is this: will you join them in making energy storage clear, profitable, and undeniably accessible for the industrial sector? Thank you so much for diving into this explainer with me.